really drove home to me what it was like to be a black man at that time. And it was an education for me. It was an emotional experience and it was an educational experience, and it was transformative in that way. So, and since then, I've had a lot of transformative experiences, whether I'm in the audience or whether I'm on stage. And I just want to take people on a journey with me. That's why I put the word experience in my company's name. It's called the Destiny Theater Experience. I don't want to just give you a play. I don't want to just entertain you for 2 hours. I want you to walk away with something that's going to make your life better. And that's a large part of my mission.
Welcome to Just Men, a life-changing program that resonates hope as well as encouragement. The program that gives you information and inspiration for the glory of God. I'm your host, Jeff Tate, and thank you for joining Just Men. On today's program, we have a very special guest. This is his first time being on Just Men. Please welcome Shawn Whitsell. Shawn, welcome to Just Men.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it's a tremendous pleasure for you to be on our program, and I would say on the onset, you add value to our program. We're just grateful for you to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate being here.
Man, well, let's dive into the life of Shawn Whitsell.
Okay.
Share a little bit about your upbringing and who is Shawn Whitsell.
I am from a small town called Madisonville, Kentucky, which is about 2 hours away from here. Grew up in a big family, the eldest of my siblings, so I kind of grew up the kid that had a lot of responsibility. Just kind of the average kid. I did well in school and was always pretty active in the arts and community service in school. And then I came to this area when I went off to college. I went to MTSU in Murfreesboro. So that's how I ended up in Tennessee.
Yeah, talk a little bit about this vision for community service and moving into activism and so forth. Where did that come from, and what do you attribute that to?
I don't know exactly where it comes from. I watched my mother. She wasn't an activist in the traditional sense, but I just watched her serve other people. She's someone who, to this day, like my whole childhood and to this day, that people can call on, and she's always readily available to go help someone in the community, someone in our family. So I watched her be that type of person, and I think that just left an impression on me. I remember when I was in the 4th grade, I wrote this essay. There was an essay contest in my elementary school, and it was, I think it was something like, if I were president. So I wrote about helping poor people if I were president, and I talked about all these things that I would do if I was the president. And I remember winning that contest. I remember they were announcing it, and I leaned over to a friend. I said, a 5th grader probably got it, probably won, and then they called my name. So so I always had a heart for people in need, and I just always felt that responsibility to give whenever I could. So.
Wow, that's beautiful. How do you bring art and activism together, and what inspires that, and how do you get these visions in terms of how you can collaborate and pull those together? Share some of those experiences and how you had those kind of epiphany moments to where you said, wait, this is a great ideal, let me pull this together, and also send a message through the art. Talk a little bit about that in its developmental form.
I've always been about communicating messages in my art, because that's what has helped me, just the messages in the art, in songs and in plays that I've seen. I know how transformative it can be, and how those things have helped me in my personal life as as I was growing up, and then also in my adulthood. So I wanted to be able to express the things that meant something to me, the issues and the topics that I felt were important. To be able to communicate to those things to people in a way that captures their attention, and it's not just like lecturing to people, but it's actually kind of put in a way that people are entertained, and then it also it leaves them better than when they came. So that's what I try to do with a lot of my plays, and the way that I merged arts and activism. It just really depends on what I'm doing. I've been volunteering at a prison. And recently, I had the insiders write monologues about something that happened in their real life. So they wrote about these experiences. A lot of them have never written a monologue, but we went through the process, and then I had actor friends come in with me a couple of weeks later, and I had given them their monologues, and they learned the lines, and they came in and they performed them in front of the insiders, and they didn't. I didn't tell them who had whose monologue, so it was just like um, we just opened kind of the floor, and they shared, and it was just amazing for the insiders to see how powerful their words could be and how they could inspire others. So just things like that, and that pushes me forward when I see the outcome of things like that. Just have people leave that experience feeling inspired and motivated and encouraged. So that's what it's about for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I know that sometimes we very seldom listen to our own words. We hear others constantly feeding words into us to inspire us, encourage us, but very seldom do we listen to our own very words and that it can empower you from within. I know that David talks about going through his trials, that he encouraged himself, you know, because of his own words. And so in terms of that, like, encouragement and empowerment, what have been some of the pivotal times in your life where you had to pull on some of the words that you inspired others, or is there a particular play or a particular, you know, art that helps you in a time of going through this kind of valley type experience?
Let me see. I have to talk myself through a lot of things because when you're like I produce and direct plays, so when I tend to have a lot of people around me. There's usually a lot of people. I write these plays that have these big casts for some reason. So I'm dealing with a lot of different personalities. So I'm constantly talking myself through things and you know telling myself either whether it's out loud or if it's just something I'm saying on the inside that I can do this. It's going to be all right. You know, even in times where it might be rocky. And then I'm a prayerful person too, so I'm constantly doing that and just trusting. I just have an optimistic personality and a worldview, so I always feel like it's going to be all right, no matter what the circumstances are. I always feel like we're going to do this, we're going to make this happen, it's going to work out, and whatever happens is going to be for the good, even if it's not the most ideal thing that I want it to be. I know that there's a lesson and a blessing in every single experience. So that's the way I kind of live my life, and that's kind of how I push through.
Wow, that's beautiful. I know that behind the scene, you and I talked a little bit about some of the activism and art coming together, and you've been able to show and have an impact, a message on the community. What are some of those areas or some of those plays or active plays that rings the heart now and sort of resonate in your spirit, and talk a bit about how they develop and what is the message behind the play itself?
Yeah, I write a lot of plays myself, and always looking for something that's going to help people, something real life issues that people are going through. And then sometimes I do plays that are published works that they're not all pieces that I've written, but I choose things that I feel like they're going to have a social impact. So I just did a play called A Poem for Broken Boys, and it's about men who have suffered a lot of different things in their past, but one of the main themes is sexual abuse, and it's just something that we don't talk about a lot in our community. It can be taboo. So we felt the need, the writer felt the need to bring this to the forefront, and I was very blessed and happy to be a part of putting it together. So after the shows, we'd have talkbacks where we allowed the audience to participate in this dialogue, and it was really about opening eyes and just letting people know that this type of thing does happen, and there's probably people in the audience who have experienced it, but have not talked about it, have not dealt with it. So I'm always looking for ways to bring forth healing, to bring forth dialogue, to bring forth some understanding about the things that even though we may not be going through them ourselves, but someone that we're sitting next to at church or that we work with may be doing that. So I've done plays that have dealt with AIDS and HIV, domestic violence, um, sexual abuse, things along that nature.
Yeah. In terms of having the vision for these plays and the information, is there a level of research that you have to do, or is there just basically an epiphany, a download? Is like, wait, this is the direction we're going. I mean, or is it public opinion? I mean, how do you get on the pathway, one, to introduce a play of consciousness, I call it, awakening the consciousness of people, but how do you educate yourself and be prepared to present a message that may not be so well received when people like to wear the cloak and the shield and the veil versus unveiling themselves and being transparent? How do you deal with that, and how do you receive?
I definitely do my due diligence. It would be a disservice to my art. It would be a disservice to my my company, the actors, and also the people who come and support to put something on stage that I didn't, dot all my I's and cross my T's. So I always make sure that I do my research. I did a show about called Unsheltered about domestic violence. It wasn't about domestic violence so much. It was about women who were in a domestic violence shelter and kind of what their lives were like in the aftermath as they tried to pick up the pieces after dealing with an issue where they've had to literally leave their homes to go somewhere else to seek refuge. And it was inspired by my own experience because I worked in a domestic violence shelter at one time. And I had I got a lot of kudos for that from women, not just because of the subject matter, but a lot of people would come to me after the show and said, "I doubted you because as a man, I was wondering how you were going to write this story. You have like all these women in it," and I got an opportunity to share. Well, I had this experience from working in a shelter, and I get a lot of stories. People pull me to the side and they say, "This happened to me," or "This happened to my mother," and they thank me for just putting it out there for creating awareness, and that means a lot to me. That means more than the money they pay to get in there, just for people to come and they leave out of that place more aware, and they've received a message of some sort. And in the process, we've entertained them as well. So we've made them laugh, we've made them cry, and then they walk out of there and they have something that they didn't come with. They have a new level of understanding, or new level of comfort even. So.
Wow, that's beautiful. You use the term transformative. Talk to me about that, and what does that mean, and what in your plays helps you to kind of bring you to that level of being transformed and operating at a whole different level, from your perspective?
Well, I know what, I remember going to see a play at the age of 15, and I always knew that I wanted to be I always knew I wanted to be an entertainer. I always knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be an entertainer. Over time, I learned what it meant to be an artist. And I remember going to see a play when I was 15. It was To Kill a Mockingbird, and there was a moment in the play where you have the black people who are in the courtroom. They have to sit in the balcony. They're not allowed. And there's this moment where they stand up, and the character of Tom Robinson is found guilty, and they're leading him off stage. And this man stands up and he delivers this soul-wrenching, this heart-wrenching song, gospel song. And I just remember the emotion that I felt. I was blown away by the production. I was deeply moved and touched. I had a tear in my eye, and I just remember not being able to stop thinking about how beautiful that moment was, and how it just really drove home to me what it was like to be a black man at that time. And it was an education for me. It was an emotional experience, and it was an educational experience, and it was transformative in that way. So, and since then, I've had a lot of transformative experiences, whether I'm in the audience or whether I'm on stage, and I just want to take people on a journey with me that's why I put the word experience in my company's name. It's called the Destiny Theater Experience. I don't want to just give you a play. I don't want to just entertain you for 2 hours. I want you to walk away with something that's going to make your life better, and that's a large part of my mission.
Wow, that's beautiful and profound too. That's in terms of your vision. Where do you see your vision as you move forward in terms of activism, and also what's on your heart in relations to what you want to send another message to about?
Yeah, what I want to do is I just want to continue. Mentoring is something that is really important to me as well. I work with, I volunteer for Preston Taylor Ministries. So I have two mentors. So for me, it's all about pouring back into the community in some way. I want my company, whether I move from Nashville, whatever I end up doing, I want my theater company to continue to serve this community. So my vision is for it to be a staple in Nashville, and then in my hometown of Madisonville, Kentucky, and in other places, and continue to entertain people, continue to inspire people. And long after I'm gone, I would love for my company to still be here doing that, because the research shows that children who are involved in the arts, their lives improve in so many ways. So I want to continue to add my piece to the pie. I want to continue to keep the arts alive and thriving in this city, and so that we continue to benefit from it.
Wow, that's beautiful. As an artist, I mean, you said something. You said that you learned the difference in terms of being an artist. What is that? I mean, what is the difference between?
Yeah, I just, like, when I was a kid, I knew that I loved performing. Even before I was actually performing in front of anybody, I knew that I would be in my room performing to myself or in the mirror. And I knew that I loved that, so I always knew that I wanted to be an entertainer. But when I learned about artistry when I discovered that there was a message that could be conveyed, that there was a way that you can use this form of entertainment to touch someone, not just to make them clap for you and to make them smile, but to really ignite a change in them. And so I learned about what it meant to be honest as an artist. So when I'm writing completely honestly. I tend to dive into taboo subjects because I feel like they're important to discuss. So just in the process of learning and growing, I've been able to discover what it means to be an artist, to be true to yourself, to be true to the craft, to be honest, to be open, to be vulnerable. And so all entertainers are not necessarily artists, in my opinion. And sometimes all artists aren't entertainers. But for me, I consider myself both. But I know the distinct difference.
Yeah. Is there any side of spirituality in your plays?
Most definitely, because there's a spiritual component to the writing of it. Every time I sit down in front of a laptop, I'm always, as many plays as I've written, I'm always wondering, how did I do this? You know, how did I start from here and end up here? And there's so many stories that I feel like God has given me, all of them really. I feel like there are things that God placed on my heart, and He gave me the responsibility of bringing them to life. You know, He trusted me with those stories, so I have a responsibility to do them justice. So. And I don't take that lightly. So there's definitely a spiritual component. You know, a lot of the characters that I've written have been people of faith or people struggling with something, their faith or spirituality. I've dealt with a lot of that. I wrote a play called In the Pastor's Shadow, which I just did recently, so yeah, I deal with a lot of issues now. It's all spiritual for me.
Yeah, wow, that's beautiful. I want to build on that a little bit in terms of In the Pastor's Shadow, and talk to me about your preparation and what was the subject matter of In the Pastor's Shadow. And you used the term research. whether there's any research of that, or was it just how did the play go, and what was the theme of the play, and what were some of the things that surfaced out of the play that you would say would empower, enlighten, or encourage people from this play if they went to this
Yeah,
event?
it was a show that I did in Nashville. I was able to do a few times. Now we were also able to take the show to New York at one point, and the show deals with a pastor's wife who has kind of put her life on hold to be to stand by her husband through everything and to support his career and his ministry. And she didn't necessarily sign up for that because he wasn't a pastor when they got together. But she supports him 100%. He kind of takes advantage. He kind of takes her for granted. And it's about her remembering who she is. So it's her journey of kind of coming back to herself, because she lost herself, even though she loves her husband, her family, and she loves the church and ministry. She kind of lost who she was. So it's her journey of going in a circle and kind of coming back to herself and remembering, this is who I am. This is who God called me to be. And I had women who were pastors' wives come to me and tell me how their lives were similar, how their lives were different. And it's great to hear the stories after the show, because you get to hear the different experiences. And those are things that I keep in mind as well as I push forward.
Wow,
So, yeah.
that's beautiful. That's good. If I was going to write a play on Shawn Whitsell, what would that play embody, and what would you envision the title of that play when it comes to your life?
Oh, the title. Let me think on that one for a second. Um, I think what it would embody, just a man who is someone who always tried to do the right thing, someone who cared about people, someone who cared about the community, and someone who was willing to serve. Um, I actually did do a play about my life, and it was called Moments in Time. And I took just different moments from my childhood, funny things that happened, really important life lessons that I got, and I just shared with the audience kind of my life story up until this point. Um, and just kind of like my setbacks and my triumphs and some of the mistakes that I've made and some of the accomplishments, just like laid it all out there for the people. And that was a really great experience for me as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know, many times people don't see the setbacks for success. I mean, they just see people arriving at such a pinnacle in their life, or the stage life, and they see the glamour, but don't see the setbacks, and don't see the perseverance. Talk a little bit about that perseverance and what it takes, in order to prevail, and in order to make it and to continue to see your vision come to fruition.
For me, it's just about never giving up. I believe so wholeheartedly in what I do, and that I refuse to give up. I know this is something that God has given me. He's entrusted me with it. So regardless of what I go through, I'm going to, and how much I might complain sometimes. Sometimes I go to my friends like, I'm never doing this again. But I know that it's part of my purpose here on earth. So for me, it's important that people know. Like, it may look glamorous. I've had people, standing ovations, and people standing up clapping and hugging me and crying and laughing at words that I've written, and that's a blessing. And then, but sometimes I've left the theater and had to go home to some real heavy stuff after that. But it's definitely not easy all the time. I had this experience recently where I took a show to New Orleans, and I stepped out on faith. I do that a whole lot, like especially with these trips to other cities, and it came down to hours before we were supposed to leave, and I did not have all the funds to go. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I'm a praying man, and I had to drive. I knew I was gonna have to drive all the way to New Orleans, And so I knew I needed to take a nap. So before I went to sleep, for which was going to be about 2 hours, I had been up for I don't even know how long. I prayed about it. I said, God, I don't know what the solution is, but I know you have it, and I'm going to go to sleep, take this nap, but I trust that when I wake up, that it's going to be resolved, and that's what I did. I went to sleep, and when I woke up, the problem was fixed like that. After I had been running around trying to figure out how I'm going to do it, I finally said, you know what, let me pray about this and give it to someone who can fix this situation, because obviously I can't. And when I woke up, the problem was fixed. We were off to New Orleans. And that's just the way I operate. And I step out on faith, I pray, and I trust.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know, the word says that it's impossible to please God without faith, and faith really is just a union with God. God wants us to operate with His mindset, you know, and faith just pulls us into the mindset of Christ or the mindset of God. And same way with a lot of the other fruits of the Spirit. Love is one that also pulls us into alignment with God when we understand how much He loves us. It's amazing. We talk about the power of love. The true power of love not only was on the cross and reconciled us and redeemed us and made us one with Him, but it's a love that continues to resonate inside of us and let us know that we can do all things through Him, through His love. And then when we know that God loves us, then we're able to step out on faith, step out on that which is unseen, and bring seen to it because we appear. Man, I tell you, you have blessed us. Just your transparency and your spirit and service. Service is the key. It really is the key. And last words of encouragement, man.
I just would like to encourage people to support the arts, and also to just believe in themselves, to never give up, to go after their dreams, and to know that if God puts something in their heart to do, then He's giving them the tools to do it. So to always remember that and to always push forward no matter what.
Wow, that's beautiful. Stay focused. Man, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Man,
Thank
awesome.
you for having me.
Man, awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's awesome. Man, that's beautiful. Tell you, man, it don't.